The Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, some of whose members stormed the Capitol on January 6, are some of the same groups targeting LGBTQ+ events.
Who brought the pedophile?
Earlier this month, authorities say Proud Boys members showed up at a drag queen story hour in San Lorenzo, California, shouting transphobic slurs.
These people should be put to death.
That sentiment echoed in Texas, but this time in a sermon at a church outside of Dallas.
They should be lined up against the wall and shot in the back of the head.
Across the country, right-wing groups are gearing up not just to protest Pride Month, but to actively disrupt it through force. Now the Human Rights Campaign has declared a national state of emergency over threats to the lives and safety of LGBTQ Americans.
We've seen unprecedented attacks at the legislative level. We're seeing real-life violence impacting our community, from California to the 1 in 5 of every hate crime being motivated by anti-LGBTQ+ bias. And in this moment, when people are traveling across the country, when they're deciding to move or what schools to go to, we have a responsibility to let people know that, one, there's an imminent health and safety crisis facing our community, and two, there's a dizzying patchwork of protections for us and for our families, depending on the state that you're in.
This is the first time in the HRC's 40-year history of activism that they've issued a national state of emergency, and they aren't exaggerating. Transgender Americans are 4 times more likely to experience violence than cisgendered people. Texas alone reported 132 incidents of hate crimes in 2021, and that number has only grown since then. And suddenly, the national conversation is filled with Republicans cheerleading people like this MAGA Karen, who thought her ignorance would be a great thing to share with the whole class.
When it's more of a mental health issue.
Well, if it's a mental health issue, then wouldn't it follow that treatment would improve these people's quality of life?
Yeah.
So you're for gender-affirming care?
No.
That people who receive gender-affirming care have a way better quality of life than people who don't.
Are you just seeing it from the one side, or are you seeing both sides of it?
Well, tell me your side.
No, I'm just saying, have you seen the research on just the one side, or are you seeing it from both sides?
The opposite of gender-affirming care, I guess, would be conversion therapy. And there's 0 studies showing that conversion therapy works. Actually, that increases the suicide rate of trans people.
I don't know the statistics on that.
Now that is Karen confidence, lecturing someone about doing the research behind gender-affirming care before admitting that you haven't actually done the research yourself. And believe me, this is about as sane as these conversations are going to get. And by the way, that was wonderful creator Adam Mockler, who we've shown here before. He's on TikTok at Adam Mockler. But some Republicans just miss the way things used to be when the LGBTQ community was invisible and silent, like this woman, brought to us by Chuds of TikTok.
But I am seriously missing the way things used to be. Back when we kept what went on behind our bedroom doors, behind those bedroom doors, you feel me? The fact, it would be comical if it wasn't as sad as it truly is.
Whatever, man. Problem is, this isn't just anti-gay bigotry confined to a few idiots on TikTok. Republican legislatures across the country are working overtime to strip away rights from trans, gay, and lesbian Americans. And the thing is, it's working. Republican lawmakers have introduced nearly 500 anti-LGBTQ bills across the country. Those include laws banning gender-affirming care in Idaho, barring the discussion of LGBTQ history in Arizona, and banning even the mention of homosexuality in Florida schools at all. Republicans are restricting the free expression of drag performers, making it harder for trans Americans to get driver's licenses, and attacking transgender people's access to public services they paid for, like Medicaid. It's a stunningly vast attack on civil rights, and yet for the most part, you're barely hearing about it. The reality is, media fears about anti-LGBTQ violence are coming too late. Violence is already here, and it comes in the form of Republican state legislatures. By the time those far-right groups start shooting, the LGBTQ community will already have lost many of their substantive civil rights. These laws are incredibly unpopular. Fortunately for Republicans, most voters don't even know what anti-LGBTQ laws are being written in their own states. As always, the greatest cure for Republican mismanagement is a little bit of public exposure. And if that isn't enough, you should hear from the man himself. Check out this video to see Donald Trump put himself in even more legal jeopardy with a defense that sounds an awful lot like an admission. And as always, leave a comment below so you can let me know what I should cover next.